Hello, and thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Mike Tellerina. I'm going to be your host this afternoon. Today, I have a really awesome guest with me, Katie Saltman. Did I get that right?
Schlottman is the last.
Slotman, I'm sorry.
No, no
Uh,
worries.
Katie is running for the Illinois State Senate District 49.
Yes, sir, I am.
How's that going?
Well, I actually think it's going pretty well. First of all, Mike, I want to say very much thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my
I
pleasure.
appreciate the opportunity to get to come and talk to you and to your viewers. Yes, so I'm running in the 49th district, which most of it is Plainfield. There's some of Crest Hill, Joliet, Shorewood, like little pieces of it. I live in Joliet, but the bulk of it is Plainfield within Will County and a
Now
little bit
you're
of Kendall County.
you're a Air Force veteran.
Yes, sir, I am.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, the story was I was going to school, and it was, I was working, towards my degree in education, and I was working two jobs, and there was an opportunity. I thought maybe to join the military to help pay for school as well. And so, first, 2001, and then 11 days later, the world changed.
Yeah.
And so, what I thought my Air Force career was going to look like was actually very different, but I'm better for it, and I loved every moment of it. So I had more opportunities for deployments and trainings and things of that nature simply because of 9/11 and again the world changing. I most of my time I always was a reservist, but I, have a lot of active time simply because we were put on orders.
Right.
So it was a great experience. I loved my time in the Air Force, and it was, something I recommend all young people get a chance to do if you can. It's to go serve. Um,
I love I love the fact that we have so many candidates that are veterans that are running for an elective office. I think that is great. I think we need that.
well, I agree, especially with I think a lot of the things that are going on. Sometimes I feel our veterans are getting overlooked.
Uh,
And I know you feel this as well because a lot of what the veterans do go through as far as their deployments, their time away from their family, the things that they experience, all the issues that they have with as they come back, we send these young boys and girls away and expect them to come back and just get back into society as if nothing
it
has happened to them. And in many
doesn't
cases,
work
that's
that
not
way.
true. Nope.
Doesn't work that
You
way.
come back a different person. And like I said, I loved my time in the military. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But not everyone's experiences, are as great, and change them always for the better. So I think we need to take care of them when they get back, and remember that transitioning from being a person who was out there doing nothing but serving to now being a member, a civilian in society again. I think there is sometimes we need to help more with that transition.
Transitioning from military life, as you know, especially if they had some combat, it's not easy. It's really
No.
not. We're not preparing our guys, the gals coming home from serving overseas in combat. We're not preparing them to come home.
I agree with that
You
100%.
know.
I agree.
Anyway, that's a whole
I
different
know.
story. I
I
don't want to
know.
bore you
We
with
could we
that.
could talk about that for a
Um,
long time.
yeah, okay. Tell our viewers why you decided to run for state senate. And I know it's got to be all time consuming on you and your family. It takes a lot to be able to step up to the plate and say, I can do something and I can make a change in what's going on in this crazy world.
So, it was never really something that I had ever thought about doing or was on my agenda or plans. I As the course of time, just becoming older and, watching what's going on in the world and my kids growing up, I did become more, I think, concerned about what was going on, even just locally around. which is then why I started, when I started this whole process of getting involved politically, I jumped in on, to run for county board. And as a county board member, I realized there was a lot going on that I wasn't even aware of further into that. And getting that opportunity to see what's going now on even within the state, and how, you know, things are voted in that at the state side, people think, oh, well, that's happening over there. It's happening within the state. It's not affecting our local politics. It very much is. It's all what
It's
happens there
trickle down.
comes here. Correct. And so, okay, sorry, that's my daughter.
Quite
Um,
okay.
so, uh, the idea that the laws that are coming down and things that are happening within our society, within our legislator now, I went to the county board because I wanted to be a voice at that table for the people of, Will County. And I want to be a voice at the table for the people of Illinois. One of the biggest things that really got, HB 3615, the Safety Act bill. I'm the wife of a police officer. So he's a 20-year veteran, 21-year veteran of,
Wow.
I've seen the shift there in how policing is. And as an educator myself, the concern with the failing of our schools right now, it's sad. When you think about, kids coming out of, my son is, he attends Joliet West, and their graduation, their readiness stat there it's 19%.
Right.
I mean, so it's concerning, that we've got things going on in the state level that aren't really helping our citizens here, our children here. We need to do better. And so, again, a
Totally.
voice at that table for the citizens is what I want to be.
Good for you. We need that. We need people that want to stand up and do what's right and what's not expected, but to do what they feel is right for the community.
Correct. I
And
100% agree.
that's exactly the kind of people we need in office.
And I
So,
think also with that, not worrying about who we're catering to. Again,
right.
I'm here
Exactly.
to serve the people, not entities.
Right.
I'm so it's very different, my motivation for
What
it.
are the key issues if you were going to try to make changes as soon as you got elected? What would be some of those changes you'd like to see happen?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest things that we've got going on right now within our own communities would be cost of living, crime, and what's going on in our classrooms. And all of that sort of can be, broken down. I mean, cost of living. I know a lot of the people in Will County, I've heard from several, people have gotten their property tax bills, and we
Yeah.
have property taxes going up everywhere, on top of the fact that inflation, I'm a mother of three. I go shopping at the grocery store. I have two teenage boys. Believe me, inflation in the grocery store is not coming down.
No.
So everything, I mean, you watch the price of houses, all of our goods, everything has just gone up, and people cannot, there isn't any more wiggle room in people's budgets
No.
to keep being taxed out of, where
A
we're
lot of
paying.
people are living off their credit cards because they can't afford, they don't have the extra income that they had before the inflation took a nosedive. It just went crazy.
Yes.
Totally crazy.
So we have to get our spending under control.
Yeah.
And there are times where it's a tough decision, but even in our own households, we have to do it, and we have to say, I'm sorry, but we can't spend any more money in this area. We have to pull back a little, we have to make a cut. We have
Gotta
to make
tighten your belt.
changes.
All right.
And we cannot keep putting that burden for things that, everybody has a big shiny wish list, but we have to start saying, nope, sorry, we're not going to be able to do that now.
You gotta draw that line somewhere.
It needs to be
Until
drawn now.
inflation catches up with us and we're sort of back on track, you gotta tighten that belt and you can't quit spending money. You can't keep spending money like it is an unlimited source.
Right. And we cannot keep putting, well, this is just another 1-2% on the taxpayer. They can't afford it anymore. It's too much on everyone. I at this point, and it's time to tighten
Well,
our belts. And
you as
I'm the
a
government.
mother with 3 children, you said when you go to the grocery store, you really have to feel the impact.
100%. Like I said, I'm feeding 2 boys right now who, sometimes I'm like, "Do I need do we need another income just to feed them?"
Yeah,
It
yeah,
and it's random things. The price of lunch meat, that was, almost half the price it was 4 years ago, and now I'm like,
right.
"Oh my goodness." And they're bigger and they're eating more. So,
Mm,
it's a lot. I think we have to scale back on some of that government spending. It has
oh.
to be done.
Katie, what is your issue? And this is really important. I mean,
Sure.
this is a big concern with everybody today that goes back and forth. What is your stance on gun control? Where are you at with that?
Well, I believe that individuals are in control of themselves most of the time. I know there's a lot of, pushback on where the limit is for that, but I am, someone who does support the Second Amendment. And I believe that individuals should be held accountable for what they do.
Right.
The laws need to reflect that. So going around saying that, a basic weapon, is going to be banned. Well, that weapon isn't going to pick itself up and hurt anybody. This
No,
individual who is going
guns
to do
don't
it.
kill, people kill.
Correct. And so I
Right.
think the laws need to reflect, with, I think, greater consequence, somebody who wants to do intentional harm with a weapon.
Katie, these prosecutors today, and I hope you can do something about that when elected, because they are not, they're just letting everybody in. They bring them in the front door and let them out the back door.
Yes, and I believe
It's a revolving door. I mean,
some
there's
of that.
no consequences for any of the actions that these people are taking.
And
It's just a free for all.
right. It's not just with people using weapons. It's many different avenues
Oh
of
yeah,
crime being committed, and some of that is now the way that the state statute reads, and what these prosecutors and states attorney, what they can do within the law.
right.
And ultimately, judges can make decisions to hold or not hold individuals. Um, but even unfortunately, in our world, the judges have become political. It's a political position at this point, and they feel the heat for their own elections. So
Right.
it's very hard to, hopefully, we I believe there are still some very good judges out there who, and some great states attorneys out there, and some great prosecutors out there who want to protect the community,
I
who want to
I
protect the
know
people.
Jim Glasgow is a really good friend of mine, and he fought so hard to stop that no bail.
Right, which is within the Safety Act, that
I
HB
mean, yeah,
36.
he fought tooth and nail. He sued them, and they went to the Illinois Supreme Court with it. Got it shot down.
He
It's just
still
crazy.
goes out and will speak on, what the impact of it is now. So we absolutely need to amend, bring trailer bills on top of that. We have to put the power back in law enforcement's hand to
Right.
take criminals off the street, and we have to be able to hold these criminals accountable, for doing a crime. It can't just be you're in and out.
Mm.
I have different, lawyers or assistant state's attorneys or whatever you want to, who will call and say, "Hey, this case is going on, and had this person been able to stay in jail, this next crime would not have been committed." And more of that's going to happen. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't feel that until it would hit them personally.
Right. Until it
And
hits
I
home.
don't want it to hit anyone personally. If you do a crime, you should be,
They should suffer the consequences.
yes, and there should be justice for that. It shouldn't be this in and out, and we'll see you in a few months, and you
You
can
know
commit
that
crimes during that time.
in New York, when that law came out, that if you steal under $1,000, you're just going to get a ticket. So they're walking in with duffel bags
Right.
loading the things up, and they don't even stop them anymore. Why bother? And, it's a shame that the police officers are put in a position they're expected to stop crime, but no one's willing to make them pay for it, for their
Right.
mistakes.
And there's only so many things they can stop them for now.
Right.
So it's
It's getting way out of control with
it
that.
is.
Really is.
And unfortunately, that will stem into more things that'll impact us in a societal way. Um, I mean, there are certain stores that if you go in now, things are actually being like, in the like you said in New York, they chain them up. Like, I mean,
You get toothpaste, you gotta ring the bell for someone to come and unlock it for you.
right, I
I
mean,
mean,
it's an absolute shame that when these laws were written, these state statutes now that are in effect, they weren't looking into a bigger picture of how this was going to impact
it's
just
terrible, it really is.
everyday people. And I think the ones who would, in that situation, who are going to suffer the most are your small businesses, which are the backbone of any community. So it's that's something that needs to be looked at, and there needs to be bills pushed out to help change that.
Katie, what would you do to increase bringing more businesses into our community, into Will County?
Well, I think at the end of the day, with all businesses, they look at what are they going to have to pay into it? What is their, tax on their business? And also, what are the benefits that they will get from being here? Are there incentives for that? And so I think, to incentivize businesses to want to be here and to stay here, we cannot make them think that they will be, taxed to the max on their property. Or and I also think a lot of the stipulations on some of these small businesses, especially we've got with the healthcare stuff and everything else, we need to find ways to make it not so impactful on them. Because if you're going to tell a small business owner who only has, X amount of employees that, well, once you hit this threshold, you have to offer this to them and everything else, these businesses aren't going to be able to thrive.
Look at California, $20 an hour for a fast food worker.
Right. And then what is that cheeseburger going to cost?
Yeah, well, they just said it was like $24.
And I mean, and that's supposed to be, the quick, easy, cheap food that mom's
Oh,
supposed to be
yeah.
get after soccer practice
There's
before
nothing
running the
easy
ballet.
anymore with
Right.
that. No,
Yeah.
nothing cheap either.
No.
And
So,
it's just, yeah, that's another thing that's
and
out of
I
control.
think also when we're talking about some of those jobs, we all worked in jobs that were considered minimum wage and entry level. These are not positions that are created to be the job that you have to sustain for, your entire life. I mean, when you have young students looking for jobs now, the idea is this is an entry level position, a basics, we're going to learn how to operate in a business entity, gain some sort of idea of how to act around others and how to, actually follow rules of a business. But the person behind the counter creating that McDonald's burger, and there's nothing wrong with, doing that job. How many people have done that as a first job? But that's not going to probably be able to sustain, your lifestyle forever.
Right.
You're going to want to move up in there, and you may move up to, manager or even corporately in there. It could be a position that starts great. But I think when we're trying to make every entry level job a job that is considered a job that's going to sustain you for the rest of your life, I think that's misguided.
Right. What do you think about the opiate crisis, the fentanyl coming into our community?
Well,
How is that in Will County? Would you have any
so
info
yeah,
on that?
actually I sit on the committee for public health and safety on the county, so I get to hear about those unfortunate updates regularly. And it's pretty awful what's happening with the amount of opioids that have come in. I know that, there's a lot of things that the health department is trying to do with getting Narcan out there and, um, combating what's going on. But the issue is the opioid crisis isn't just affecting a young age bracket. If you go on to the Will County website, you can see that some of these overdoses are, these are older people in their 60s. And
Right.
um, it's just been let into our communities. And because there isn't as many consequences, or it's harder to grab it, it is in the hands of people. And we need to also make I want to say, the consequences for the people selling this and putting it in our communities much more severe.
That's
It
it.
it needs to be much more severe. I don't want the person who is addicted or the addict to be the person who is paying for that.
It's the person who's smuggling
But
it,
right,
bringing it in,
bring it in here. There needs
flooding our
to be
communities
consequences for
with it.
that.
It's such an epidemic right now with this fentanyl. So many young kids and older
Like
gentlemen
I
and
said, yep.
ladies are dying from it as well. I can't believe that they're not doing anything to close those borders to
No.
stop
And
that flow.
unfortunately, that is, from the federal government. But on the state side of that, and even many of the surrounding, municipalities within Illinois the smaller entities have said we are not sanctuary areas. And the state of Illinois declared itself a long time ago a sanctuary state. And so we have these people coming in who are not vetted, who we don't know what they're bringing in with them, who
Right.
we are being expected to care for now on the taxpayers' back. And we don't really have any way of accounting for what is happening with them. And so until we change our outlook on how we are going to handle the migrants coming into our state, this is going to continue to come in.
10 million. 10
Mm-hmm.
million. And I don't even know how many are here that we don't even know who they are. They've never been properly vetted.
Correct.
So it's just a matter of time before something crazy happens because we just got these floodgates wide open.
And the expectation from many of the migrants that have come in is for them, they believe that it's their rights to,
They're entitled.
yes. And again, the taxpayer cannot keep affording that. So the state government needs to tell the federal government enough.
Yeah.
And I
Do we
believe
have any
that.
immigrant communities or I'm trying to find the right word here in Will County?
Areas of, do we have like tent cities and things like
Right.
per se? There are some homeless encampments I know throughout Will County, but per se, we are told there's no actual just migrant areas. They have made it in Will County, and I know like Joliet did as what they were finding buses that were coming in if they don't come in according to the ordinance, but they can start dropping people off in vans or whatever. So
Right.
there absolutely are migrants,
I think
100% in our community. We don't have really a handle on it where all of them are.
I think what upsets me the most is that we've got veterans like yourself. You're not homeless, of course, but
No, thank goodness, right?
but we've got veterans that are actually homeless without the proper care, with no roof over their head. They're begging for food on their corners, begging for change,
Yes.
but yet we're providing housing, medical, Visa gift cards,
Cell phones,
cell phones,
all of it,
and
medical
it's like
care,
our veterans
and
are looking at this like, I took that oath just like you did. I was willing to stand up to take whatever came my way, never ask for anything in return. Yet when they come home, there's
we
nothing for them. They see all these people coming into our country illegally, getting all these gratuities. I mean, and I work with veterans every day, as you know
right.
you know and one of my biggest issues is when I see a veteran that's homeless and hungry. That should never be
No,
under any
no, that
circumstances whatsoever.
and the crazy thing to me is most of our veterans who are out there in these situations don't even know that there are maybe some resources within
Right.
where they're at to get help. But my goodness, these migrants know exactly where to go to get what they need. That has
They
put
they
out
have
so
they
much,
have they have a thing on their phone
and
that
we
tells
can't.
them where they can go, what they can get, and how they can get there. And they
Correct.
give them transportation anywhere they wanna go.
Yep.
And
And
even at the airport, they don't even stand in line.
no, and we have to, have
Take off her shoes.
right, my 9-year-old has to
You
walk
know,
the whole metal thing.
you know what? We've got about 3 minutes,
Okay.
and I wanna do this again with you
Oh,
because you're
absolutely.
really an interesting guest, I gotta
Oh,
tell you.
well, thank you so much
One,
again.
and the fact that you're a veteran, I just pray to God that you have a successful campaign because we need you and people with a veteran's background to step up to the plate and start changing some of these laws so they can help our veterans because they have
100%.
you have a better understanding of what our veterans are going through. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Somebody just chimed in. You got my vote.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So and again, all the luck in the world. Anything I or our veterans can do to help you in any way, you can count us in.
Well, you know what? And please reach out if there's anything that I can ever help with as
Well,
help.
once you get elected, I will be knocking at your door. Say, hey, you remember the conversation we had?
Well, I am ready for that. I am
Well,
ready to help. So,
God
again,
bless
Mike,
you.
I want to thank you very much, and God bless you as well.
You have a great day.
You
Thank you.
too. Thank you, Mike.
Bye bye.
Bye.